Welcome back to the show. It's me, Tommy, your host. Hopefully, you've listened to the podcast intro that I imported from Spotify to Substack. Anyways, if you don't know, now you know. My name is Tommy. This is my podcast. I like to talk about books, what I read, um, stuff I've learned from the books. So far, all my episodes have been about books I've read and things I've learned. So obviously, nothing's going to change today because I want to talk about a really good book, a really inspiring book that I've read called Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. I know it's like your classic kind of like entrepreneur book that I swear every entrepreneur, every business owner loves to read. I'm no different. Got a cool looking cover, very Nike-esque with the orange swoosh and the gold. But anyways, I love this book. I've read it about 4 times. Not just because it's got some good lessons in it, but because it's also a sweet story. Really cool story about Phil Knight and how he started Nike. So anyways, I wanted to talk about that today. I'm going to try and keep these podcast episodes to like 15 to 30 minutes. Hopefully I can even get that long for this one. This might be a shorter episode. Real quick, I need to grab my charger. And I'm going to make sure my iPad is charged so I can do this. That's where I'm recording from, is an iPad so far. Hopefully I get a better setup here in the near future. Got my bookshelf in the back, desktop right there, sitting on my desk, door, everything. But yeah, anyways, this podcast hopefully have some good lessons you can learn from it. On my flashcard, I was just going to go over 5 lessons. I wrote them down that I kind of wanted to talk about from the book specifically. Anyways, if you guys don't know who Phil Knight is, founded Nike back in the day, went through a whole bunch of crazy experiences to get to where Nike is, modern day, to where it is now. Also, if you like the movies and you like Nike, if you saw Air, it's about how they signed Michael Jordan back in the day. Really cool story. I advise you to to go watch that movie. It's pretty sweet. So I like it a lot. Anyways, Phil Knight, he went to Oregon. He's from Oregon, went to University of Oregon. Then he went to, I believe, Stanford for his MBA and just didn't know what to do with his life, really. He graduated from his MBA program and he had this crazy idea to sell track shoes basically for runners. Anyway, long story short, he doesn't know where his life is taking him, and he's like, how can I change the world if I don't know what the world looks like just yet? And so him and his buddy go to start traveling the world. They end up in Hawaii at one point. His buddy finds a girl, wants to stay there, and he's like, well, I gotta go see the rest of the world. So he goes to India, Greece, Europe, Asia, everywhere. And then he gets to Japan, pitches this idea to some, I believe it's a factory over there. It's been a while since I fully read the book, probably about a year since I read it. Anyways, and that's how Nike was born. And then there's a whole bunch more. So I recommend going and just reading it to hear the craziness of it all. But you really should if you want to know basically the full story. So anyways, let's jump into the lessons, 5 lessons that I thought would be meaningful to you guys, to whoever listens to the podcast, Anyway, so I'm going to jump to page 3 to 5, pages 3 through 5. It basically the prologue, actually. Anyways, okay. This is what he says. I want to read from the book a little bit and then talk about what's on these pages. So he goes, actually, let me start right here. He talks about how he's a goody two-shoe, hadn't broken any laws, done no drugs, whatever. And anyways, he goes, unlike my friends, I didn't know what that meant, referring to what success meant. He goes, money, ? Maybe. Wife, kids, house, sure, if I was lucky. These were the goals I was taught to aspire to, and part of me did aspire to them instinctively. But deep down, I was searching for something else, something more. I had an aching sense that our time is short, shorter than we ever know, short as a morning run, and I wanted mine to be meaningful and purposeful and creative and important. Above all, different. I wanted to leave a mark on the world. I wanted to win. No, that's not right. I simply didn't want to lose. And then it happened. As my young heart began to thump, as my pink lungs expanded like the wings of a bird, as the trees turned to greenish blurs, I saw it all before me, exactly what I wanted my life to be. Play. Yes, I thought, that's it. That's the word. The secret of happiness. I'd always suspected the essence of beauty or truth, or all we ever need to know of either, lay somewhere in that moment when the ball is in midair, when both boxers sense the approach of the bell, when the runner's near the finish line and the crowd rises as one. There's a kind of exuberant clarity in that pulsing half second before winning and losing are decided. I wanted that, whatever that was, to be my life, my daily life. Awesome. I really like that insight. And then he goes on to say, referring to what he wants his life to be, which is play, he goes, like it or not, life is a game. Whoever denies that truth, whoever simply refuses to play, gets left on the sidelines. And I didn't want that. More than anything, that was the thing I did not want. Then on page 5, he goes, I did decide that the world is made up of crazy ideas. History is one long processional of crazy ideas. The things I loved most, books, sports, democracy, free enterprise, started as crazy ideas. He goes, you tell yourself that you're running towards some goal, chasing some rush, but really you run because the alternative, stopping, scares you to death. So in this morning in 1962, he then goes and says, I told myself, let everyone else call your idea crazy. Just keep going. Don't stop. Don't even think about stopping until you get there. And don't give much thought to where there is. Whatever comes, just don't stop. So that's the advice he gave himself. And I think it's really insightful. I think it's really great that that's how the book starts. It's a great moment of foreshadowing to what the whole journey of Nike is going to look like. Just don't stop. And what I wanted to talk about is the first part that I read on page 3 is he had the desire to have a meaningful life. And I think that's where everything starts. You need to have that desire, first off, to have a meaningful life. And then you can go from there and create a plan, set goals, and envision what you want your life to look like. And I think a lot of people don't have that, and they don't want that. And this is something, me getting vulnerable, this podcast is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. I love podcasting, I love reading, and I finally have, after years of just sitting around thinking about it, talking about it, writing down ideas and everything, I finally have just kind of looked at myself. I'm 26. I'm not getting any younger. I just want kind of what Phil wants, to have a meaningful life, doing what I want to do, what I consider play. This would be play for me. It doesn't feel like work. So anyways, I think that's where you need to start if you're looking to have some sort of if you're looking to accomplish something. I think that's where you got to start, is to have the desire to have a meaningful life and the desire to accomplish whatever that is. So anyways, that's the first lesson. I really like that, and I love how it's on the first few pages of the book before you even get to the first chapter. So I think it's a great place to start. The second lesson, I want to jump to page 94. And I have a Kindle, guys, but honestly, reading on like paper is just way better in my opinion. I love it for whatever reason. Anyways, let's see. So yeah, page 94. The lesson that I wrote down is just fail fast. And this is what he says. He's talking to I'll give you the backstory. He's talking to one of his associates, some guy who he had hired, who's kind of like his business partner / buddy. You'll read more about him in the book. His name is Johnson. But he goes, and the name of his company at this point was called Blue Ribbon, not Nike yet. And he's talking or thinking, he goes, Blue Ribbon, I said, would probably morph over the years into a generalized sporting goods company. We'd probably have offices on the West Coast and one day maybe in Japan. Far-fetched, I wrote, but it seems worth shooting for. That this last line is wholly truthful. It was worth shooting for. If Blue Ribbon went bust, I'd have no money and I'd be crushed. But I'd also have some valuable wisdom, which I could apply to the next business. Wisdom seemed like an intangible asset, but an asset all the same, one that justified the risk. Starting my own business was the only thing that made life's other risks, such as marriage, Las Vegas, alligator wrestling, seem like sure things. But my hope was that when I failed, if I failed, I'd fail quickly. So I'd have enough time, enough years to implement all the hard won lessons. I wasn't much for setting goals, but this goal kept flashing through my mind every day until it became my internal chant: fail fast. And I think that's great. Like he says, he wanted to fail fast so that way he could take those lessons he learned and apply them to whatever he went into next. If Blue Ribbon went under, he could apply the lessons he learned at Blue Ribbon into his next venture and then into his next venture. I think that's really important. I think a lot of times we get caught up in this perfectionism where we're like, it needs to be perfect. And so we don't make the mistakes necessary to get to where we need to be. And so that's something I really like, is to fail fast, make mistakes. Mistakes are where you learn, not the successes. The successes happen because of all the mistakes you made prior up to that point. And so I really like that lesson. It kind of happens early on in the book, and it's definitely foreshadowing to what happens. He failed fast a lot of times. They'd have ideas, implement them. They'd fail, bam, next idea, next goal, whatever it was, and it was really great. So, and ended up working out, obviously, because Nike's a multi-billion-dollar company nowadays. So anyway, that was a great lesson that I loved from this book. The next one, I'm going to jump around to page 145. And this is also why I like having the book in front of me, so I can flip to it pretty quickly if I can get there. Anyways, 145. So he's talking. He had just been married and found out that his wife was pregnant. And he goes, "Our cozy apartment was now completely inappropriate. We'd have to buy a house, of course. But could we afford a house? I just started to pay myself a salary. And in which part of town should we buy? Where were the best schools? And how was I supposed to research real estate prices in schools, plus all the other things that go into buying a house while running a startup company? Was it even feasible to run a startup company while starting a family? Should I go back to accounting or teaching or something more stable?" Leaning back in my recliner each night, staring at the ceiling, I tried to settle myself. I told myself, life is growth. You grow or you die. And I think that's awesome. And there's a couple more stories about that in there. But it's kind of like, for instance, a shark. A shark has to keep moving, otherwise it dies. It can't stay still in the ocean. It needs to keep on moving. And that's a great analogy. Metaphor and analogy, I'm not sure which one it is. I'm bad at English and grammar. But for life and for business, you got to keep growing, otherwise you die. You plateau, and that's when the decline happens. And so, and you see that throughout Nike's journey from start to finish. The grow and grow and grow and grow, or they don't stop trying to grow because they knew that would stunt what they were capable of doing. So I really like that lesson, and I think it's very applicable to our lives. And I think another word for growth that you could put in there is progress. I think life is progress. You need to just keep progressing, and that doesn't mean you're perfect at what you're doing. Like, kind of going back to the other lesson I just talked about, is you make mistakes and you keep growing. That's how you grow. It's how you learn lessons. That's how you grow and are capable of taking the next step. So, anyways, really great lesson there. The next one, lesson number 4 that I wrote down. Let's go to page 210. Okay, so he's talking about this runner named Pre. He was a legend back in the day. He died in a car accident, and he was this great runner. Anyway, so I'll just jump into it. He goes, "Sometimes I thought the secret to Pre's appeal was his passion. He didn't care if he died crossing the finish line, so long as he crossed first. No matter what Bowerman told him, no matter what his body told him, Pre refused to slow down, ease off. He pushed himself to the brink and beyond. This was often a counterproductive strategy, and sometimes it was plainly stupid, and occasionally it was suicidal. But it was always uplifting for the crowd. No matter the sport, no matter the human endeavor, really, total effort will win people's hearts." And again, this kind of combines with those last couple lessons is if you just have total effort and go 100% at whatever you do, people will still love you. You're going to win them over. It doesn't matter, you know, the mistakes you make as long as you're doing them 100%. And, you know, it's kind of cliche. I heard it from all my football coaches, basketball coaches growing up. You know, they want you to make mistakes, but make them at 100%. They're not going to care, supposedly. They said if you make the mistakes at 100% instead of if you're, you know, going 50%, you make a mistake. It's just a lot easier to write you off when you're not putting forth 100% of your effort. And just like this runner Pre, he won people over. He was a fan favorite. People loved him. Crowds loved him. And it's because he just would go 100% all the time. So that's another lesson for, you know, whether you're at work, with your family, with friends. If you give 100%, you're going to win them over. And they're going to love you for your effort. And they're going to want to be around you and do things with you. And it's a lot easier to look past your flaws, and because we all have flaws, we all make mistakes. It's a lot easier to do that when you're, you know, going 100% all the time. So, and that's honestly a lesson to what Phil did as well. Phil went 100% on Nike all the time, and Nike's, you know, great. They make great shoes, running shoes, basketball shoes, cleats, apparel, a whole bunch of stuff. So that was the fourth lesson that really stuck out to me. Excuse me. I should get some water or something. The next one is page 271. And this one might take a little bit longer. There's a cool story behind it. So I don't remember. I don't want to go into the full story actually, but there's a time in Nike where they have some money problems. They're not, you know, doing very well money wise. They need some more money to fulfill more orders, make their payments on the loans they already have out. And they had this plan. They're talking to another company, another, you know, financial company, to try and get money from them, and the company can't know that they're also talking to this other company that they're getting loans from. Basically, is what happens. So anyway, Phil Knight and his crew are trying to organize these meetings to where these people don't meet the other people. And anyways, he says Nisho is the name of somebody, left a couple hours later. By then, Ito had accepted that Sumeragi was acting unilaterally, hiding invoices on his own initiative, unbeknownst to me. And he had forgiven me my sins, including my secret factory. He also had I think that's what it was. He had a secret factory. Anyways, this Japanese businessman goes, there are worse things than ambition. And so I really like that. It stuck out to me. You know, ambition is a great tool, and there are worse things than ambition. So if you're hustling and you're trying to get after it and you're ambitious and you're going for your goals, people will respect you a lot more. They're gonna, you know, want to help you when they see that fire and that ambition in you, and they're gonna want to help you to reach those goals. So anyways, that was a cool little story that kind of exemplified that last lesson, and kind of ties everything together. It's really a story of resiliency, ambition, grit, determination, and just overall go-getter attitude that Phil Knight has. And it's really entertaining. Like, the book is well written. It's an easy read. It keeps you on the edge of your feet, the stories, and I love it. So anyways, I recommend going and picking up a copy of this, read it, mark it up. It's a great book. Even if you're not, you know, a businessman or entrepreneur, it's a great book just for life in general. So I'd recommend it to all of you. But yeah, anyways, that was my episode on Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. I hope you guys liked it. Once I get more people commenting, subscribers, I'll take book requests and I'll read them and do an episode about them. So anyways, thank you guys for listening, and tune in for the next episode.